Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Line Mentality by Line Pro, the podcast where we talk to lineman people about lineman things. When it comes to lineman people, there's not too many more well-known, active, and for me, very much appreciated members of the lineman community than Coach Nate Leonard, Nasty Nate Leonard, as his Twitter profile says, and I'm loving that. Coach, why don't you kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Coach Nasty Leonard, originally from Dallas, Texas. Played football at University of Texas at San Antonio and started that program up. Knew from a very young age that I wanted to get into coaching, and knew from a very young age that my NFL career was going to be non-existent. So got into coaching right away and started out the high school ranks of Texas. Ended up making my way out to the East Coast to spend a year with Duke University as an assistant offensive line coach and offensive line GA. And that's really where I kind of developed my brand of a nasty O-line play, and my social media brand kind of took off from there, as you know. And then I just recently accepted the offensive coordinator position at Clear Lake High School in Houston, Texas. So I'm getting back to my Friday Night Light roots. Can't wait to impact those young kids and kind of develop that brand there in the Houston, Texas area.
Yeah, and then I just saw that about a week ago you made a nice announcement on Instagram. Everybody out there, make sure you're following this guy on Instagram. I earlier I wanted to go check out your profile, and instead of searching for it, I just scrolled down because I figured I'd find a post. You're quite active.
Right.
You post some great stuff. I love it. But
I appreciate you got to be visual. You got to be visual if you want to build a brand. You got to put yourself out there, and people aren't going to recognize you if they don't see you. So that's
right. Yeah, you can't be shy. I think that with Line Pro, we're just getting started, and I haven't been great at self-promotion and really getting after it to put it out there. But part of that is because we don't have a ton of content yet, but now we do. And now we got you, and we're ready to really rock. So it's going to be good. But I wanted to ask about this transition back to high school coaching. With that, was that the goal all along? Were you sure that you want, what I mean? When you're at Duke, did you know you wanted to go back to high school coaching, or did you think about going further in college O-line coaching?
When I got to Duke University, it was one of those things where I didn't know what I didn't know. And I had played at the Division I level and said, you know what, if I'm going to do it, be a GA, I got to do it now. Started out in the Texas high school coaching ranks, ended up at a really good spot in Reagan High School in San Antonio. And, I got to the point where I had some of my mentors suggest to me, hey, if you're going to go to the college level, you got to do it now. And as a player, I obviously had that kind of itch to wonder what it was like coaching at the college level. And so I talked to my wife. We didn't have any kids. We don't have any kids. And so we were able financially to swing it. So I did reach out, ended up getting a lot of connections, met the right one, and David Cutcliffe at Duke. Came out here and loved it, learned a lot, met a lot of great people, learned all about this profession and this level as far as coaching is concerned. But I couldn't change my heart, and my heart was bringing me back to Texas, where I was born and raised underneath the Friday Night Lights, and had a lot of network and great support back home, and they kept trying to pull me back, and eventually the right spot opened up, and I felt like it was right to go home, and my wife and I are excited to get back to Texas and a new area of Texas for us, which is Houston, and impact those kids there. So I enjoyed my time here at this level. It's a lot of times it's kind of glorified, but I worked hard and did my job, and that kind of opened up another opportunity for me to go back and call an offense at the 6A level in Texas. So yeah, we're excited to get back. Enjoyed my time here at Duke.
I love it. What are you guys going to run now that you're an offensive coordinator? Have you thought a lot about that? I'm sure you have.
I've thought a lot about it. My roots are spread, but my roots are also offensive line plays. So definitely not going to give too much away, because I know that some people may watch this, but we're gonna establish the run game, and we're gonna build off the run game as far as dabbling a little RPO and a little bit of perimeter game and kind of utilizing the width of the field. But I haven't been in the high school yet. I haven't been able to see the kids, so that's all going to be developed around our personnel, as any coach should do, is develop the offense around the personnel. So I have ideas. They all include scoring a bunch of points and kind of demoralizing defenses across the state. But at the same time, I got to do what's best for the kids and what's right by the kids. So once I get down there in May, be able to get into the school and get into the personnel and really kind of nail down what exactly we're going to do. But we're definitely going to have a great run game, and we're going to build off that.
That's great. There's nothing quite like, coaching high school football and being able to go compete and get into the mental side of the game. And I can't even imagine the difference. I mean, we're here in Oregon, and it's getting competitive. Okay. It's getting competitive, right. But I can't imagine the level in Texas, and you played
right.
high school there. So you really know.
That's right.
Now you were in high school. Did you play center?
Yeah, I played center pretty much ever since middle school. So I was a center all the way. I'm not one of those guys that was a running back or a fullback and then transitioned. I was a center all the way.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm coaching camps and I'll, be with the linemen, and then I'll see a big kid walk over to the receivers and I'm just like, hey buddy, it's time to get truthful here. You need to come this way. I could probably teach you to catch better anyways. No, I was going to ask you, cause you were 5'11",
right.
Is that right? Throughout college. And is that a roster 5'11" or a real 5'11"?
No, it was a real 5'11". It was a roster 6'1". I mean, everyone lied about me. And then, you can't lie when you show up to the game. But, yeah, it was a real 5'11", real.
Yeah, you got the cleats and the helmet. You can get up above that 6'1",
Yeah, but everybody else is wearing cleats and helmets too. So, it's difficult everything's relative at that point in time.
Absolutely. Well, I want to talk about, being a shorter lineman, and I want to get back to that in a second. But I do, while we're on it, want to talk about the height thing, because you just got to experience being at a big D1 school in the ACC, and I just don't know how. From my standpoint, it's like, okay, so most people are lying by 1.5 inches. I said I was 6'3" on everything, and I measured in at 6'1"
right.
and 7/8 at the combine.
Right.
So where do you stand on that? Like, what's the current status from a college coach's standpoint? And for two, what can be done to kind of alleviate that? Do we need like a standard?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to vary from place to place. I think at the end of the day, what we look for is a guy who can perform at a level that's worthy enough of him being able to hold his own at this level and exceed at this level. So that's going to vary for each person. I tell you what's even more important in our opinion than height was arm span and arm reach. So if you can get a defender off of you, your height's really not going to matter. But usually the shorter you are, the shorter your arms are. So for us, it was more of a how long do you play type of deal, not necessarily how tall you are. So we had guys that kind of came through the program and came through camps that were, undersized. I want to say undersized for the Power 5 level. I mean, that would be anything 6'2.5" and under, that were great performers. And we've signed some of those guys. But at the end of the day, the ACC's got elite defenses. Not all conferences in the Power 5 have the elite defenses that the ACC does. And so we're going up against guys that are not only big and tall, but they're also very athletic. Take the Clemson defensive line, for example. So, short and tall only goes so far. Really, it boils down to your performance. But what we found was the taller the guy, the longer the reach. And the longer the reach, the more success that you can have at this level. Now, when it comes to our standard, like I mentioned earlier, we had some short guys come through. It comes down to performance, comes down to arm span and arm length. And we never really went into anything saying if they're under this height, then they can't play for us. So that's kind of a myth type of deal as far as the eye test is concerned. I mean, some coaches, you're going to pass it more than you are with other coaches, but really what it comes down to and what it should come down to, because we're putting our paycheck on it, is how well you perform at whatever height or size you are.
Right. So if you looked at it as like a hierarchy of qualifiers, it's like attitude, effort on the field, ability, everything. And then that last piece is like, okay, I've got it. These guys are completely equal. This guy's 6'3", this guy's 6'1". Got to go with the 6'3" guy because he's going to be able just to have that much more hip extension, that much more total lift. And
I mean, if it came down to two guys and everything else was equal, most of the time we felt the more durable guy and the guy that had the higher ceiling was the taller guy. I mean, that's just the reality of it, like you just mentioned. But at the same time, like, I guess the tip of the iceberg for us was if everything's equal, then we really broke it down even further and really got into, can this young man process and think quickly? Because in today's day and age, I guess you could say, with our offenses that we've been running, it's fast, or it's tempo and processing very quickly and processing on the move. So if we had everything equal between two guys, let's say they're both 6'3", they both have everything else is equal, one of them processes information faster, without a doubt, we gave the nod to that young man, because when the bullets are flying in the Power Five, we've got to have someone who can keep their head about it and process information very, very quickly. So that would be the very tip of the iceberg for us, was if it got that close, who's going to process information faster? Now, what you can ask me is, how do you measure that? And that's
right.
That's having conversation. Yeah, so that's having conversations with the young man, and as you know, with the recruiting process, it never stops. You know, you've got dead periods, you got this and that, but when it's on, it's on. So when we're talking with these young people, we ask them questions and we kind of get their gauge and their feel for how much they love the game. And you may talk X's and O's with them, and if they're talking in your language more so than another prospect is talking in your language, then you're going to give the nod to the young man that speaks your language. And you, as a coach, you definitely get a feel for who loves football. You definitely get a feel for who understands football. You definitely get a feel just through conversation who's more well suited for your program. And that's after everything else. That's after the film and the grades and the measurables. I mean, that's the very tip. Yeah, you're really cutting hairs at that point in time. But that's what we look for at Duke University.
I like it. Let's say that I'm a sophomore coming in at 6'4", 265, plenty of room to grow, a good frame, athletic, good grades. And I feel like I should be on Duke's radar. Maybe I'm in Oregon, maybe I'm in Washington, pretty far away. By the way, I visited Duke very unofficially. My brother played baseball at Wake Forest. So we kind of walked on the campus being like, hey, I am a recruit down over here. If you guys want to say, my dad was pretty good about that kind of stuff. But anyways, point being, what do you say to a kid who feels like he qualifies, but he hasn't got that momentum going? Just off the top of your head, what are some angles that he could take now that you're not a college coach, but you were from that standpoint? Where's the starting ground? How does he start swimming upstream to you guys?
Well, at Duke, it's going to be a little bit different. So if from my experience, we did not have a whole lot of success numbers wise on the West Coast. So if you've got a young man, let's say he's in Oregon, right? And he's like, I love Duke and I don't mind moving to the East Coast. And, I'm ready to go. And I've got this and this and this. You've got to come to camp. And I know that it's said over and over again, camp is just to get your money and different. For us at Duke University, camp was like, okay, who's interested in Duke? And if you show up, then you're going to get exposure. We're going to get to work with you personally. You're going to be able to see campus. You're going to be able to see if you like Durham. And then you're going to get in front of all these coaches and have the opportunity to perform. So if you're that young man on the West Coast, get to campus. If you're that young man in Durham, North Carolina, we've already found you. We already know about you. If you're that young man in Tennessee, we already know about you. If you're that young man in Georgia, we already know about you, because we've infiltrated those states so much and so heavily. But being on the East Coast, we found that if we recruit a young man and offer a young man on the West Coast, chances are Stanford's offered that young man. And then if you've grown up on the West Coast, then chances are you're going to Stanford. Sure. Now, we've had some success on the West Coast, but just head-to-head against West Coast schools, not as much. So how can you put yourself out there to Duke University if you're like, I want to go to the East Coast? You got to come see us, and you got to prove to us that you're willing to make that trip out here to the East Coast, and that you're really talking business, and you're not afraid to move from coast to coast, and you're not just all talk, just trying to count offers. And so that would be what I would tell that young man. So the farther you are away from Duke University, the more you've got to be present here during those times that we have prospects performing on campus.
Right. Which kind of brings up another, a pretty tough subject, because I work with a wide array of talent, and then you have to really try to manage the expectations, and projections change. What do you say to just everybody watching? You're going to have some kids who could qualify, some kids who can't, and some who might, and some who think they can but don't. So what would you say as a generality to kids to help them to make decisions on where to go, because they can't go everywhere, and some kid might see this like, I fit the bill, I'm going to fly out to Duke. And he shows up and he's unprepared, and you guys haven't seen him, and you're focused on the kids you invited and talked to and actually have the grades and all. And then, so a lot of times parents will waste money going all over the country because they hear, okay, we got to go to camps. Let's go to 35 camps.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really easy for me to answer because I was in it so recently. But if a coach is not talking to you at all, or a program has not come by to see you or anything like that, you're really taking a shot with your own money to go to a camp. If Duke is that important to you and no one's ever reached out to you, but you fit the bill and you have confidence enough to perform, then you've got to go to camp, and you've got to go prove yourself. And that's going to be any school, so if you're a young man in Texas and the University of Texas has never reached out to you, never given you any mail, anything like that, but that you're just being overlooked, you've got to go and prove that you're being overlooked. My advice would be go to camps where a coach has actually made contact with you or has made contact with your head coach and said, I've got to have this young man at my camp. That's going to give you the best opportunity to get exposure that may actually be real exposure and lead to an offer. So don't go chasing all these different places that you haven't heard from unless you're so dead set on going to this one place that you just got to go and see what it's all about and see if you can get that exposure that you want. But my advice would be don't waste your money on dreams, and as far as like just real long shots that you've never heard of, but go to places where you have had contact, and that's going to give you the best opportunity. And then all of it, that goes into saying if you're getting contact, let's say in state in North Carolina, you're getting a lot of contact from App State. Go to their camp. Chances are there's going to be coaches working that camp from other schools. So just by going to any camp, you're going to get more exposure than just that one school. And then you never know, if your dream school is Duke University and you keep going to App State, and you perform, chances are we're going to hear about you and we're going to see what you're all about and go through the huddle and then go through the head coach and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, don't waste your money chasing things that you've never heard of or places you've never heard from. Go to those places where you've heard from first, and then if you've got some extra money, go to that dream school and go see if you can get the exposure that you want.
Climb the ladder a little bit, right?
Yeah, especially if, in today's society with social media and stuff, if you've gotten offers from other Power 5 schools, chances are every Power 5 school has heard about you, no matter where you are, right? But if you haven't gotten those offers and you feel like you deserve those offers, go to a camp where you have heard from the coaching staff, perform really well there, and then there'll probably be a coach there from a Power 5 school, or a Power 5 school will hear about your performance and then kind of want to know more about you. So definitely go and earn those offers and earn your first offer, get your feet wet, and then you can build your resume from there. What we say is, especially with kids who say, well, Duke is my dream school, but they do have some mid-major offers, what we say is, you've got a lottery ticket in your hand. You're going to school for free. Now you get to prove to us that you want to go after the schools that you've dreamed of, right? So then we get to go and we get to evaluate you during spring, and we get to evaluate you during the fall. And then if we feel like you're a fit for us, then we can offer you. And then if we really are your dream school, then we'll sign, sealed, delivered. But a lot of times, in my experience, a lot of kids are abusing the term dream school, and you offer them, and then they're like, blessed to receive my 22nd offer. And it's like, all right, well, now you're just counting offers. So it's kind of the boy who cried wolf. So when you are communicating with schools, make sure you're honest and not just fishing for offers. That'd be my advice to those young men out there that are watching this right now.
Absolutely. That's great advice. We really appreciate that. And I'm sure the kids do, and parents, do as well. And this is going to be really big for them. Next up on that docket would be, for me, non-school camps, when it's really showcases, including the ones that have college coaches coming. I don't know if they sent you to any showcases or anything, or satellite camps.
I've been to a showcase. I went to the Chicagoland showcase up at Northwestern, so I do have some experience with that.
Where does that land on your on the radar of how important it is for a kid to get to?
I mean, it's so difficult to tell. I mean, like it's going to vary for each kid. I mean, if you're a young man who's got mid majors, and you go to a showcase, that may be your opportunity to get Power Fives. So I would go, if I've got mid-major offers, I'm going to a showcase that's got for sure Power Five schools there, because then I can ball out. If I really am a Power Five player, I'm going to get Power Five offers if I perform the way that I know I can perform. If you're a young man that's completely off the radar and you don't have anything, no nibbles at all, and you go to a showcase, I mean, it's easy for me to say go because you're going to get some exposure, but like don't have expectations really if you don't have anything at all and you just kind of show up and you just go to camp. Don't expect an offer just because you go. So, I don't want to sit here and say go to get exposure, because then you may go and like, oh, well, I just wasted my money and Coach Leonard told me to go and I don't have any exposure. It's going to obviously give you more exposure if you already have some stuff going for you, like mid-majors. But if you've got nothing at all, I mean, it can't hurt to go, because if you go and you ball out, you're going to get something, because again, we recruit based upon performance. But let's be real, right? Let's say that you're 5'9", 300 pounds. You play center for your high school. You're all district at your level. And you go to a camp and you're like, man, I ball out. I'm all district. A lot of the chances are, if you're 5'9", 300 pounds, I mean, Power Five schools probably aren't going to come knocking. Mid-majors aren't going to come knocking. I mean, you're kind of limiting yourself just in your own mind because you do well locally. That doesn't mean that you're going to do well nationally. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So like,
Totally.
Don't, be real with yourself. So like when I was getting recruited, I had to be real with myself and say, look, I'm 5'11" on a good day. If I go to the University of Texas, I'm going for the exposure, the teaching, the coaching, but I don't have any expectations of getting offered by UT. Now, if I go to UTSA's camp, I had real expectations of getting offered, and I did. So the smaller that you are, the more you should probably alter your camp schedule around realistic opportunities. And that's only going to build success for you and not get you so down in the recruiting process. Because at the end of the day, you need to end up where is best for you. And that's going to just be better for you overall. And it's not going to be like, hey, I'm trying to go to this big school, but I'm not, they're not even looking at me. And that's going to do more damage than it is good.
Yeah. Well said, and you don't have to worry about some kid blaming you for him going to some showcase. Everybody's responsible for their own decisions. If you need some advice, if you know me, hit me up. I'll try to help you out. But the real answer is you just never know. I could say,
Right.
someone says, oh, is this a good camp? Well, there will be D1 colleges. There's also going to be 200 kids. Will you get a bunch of attention from the coaches? If I know the kid, I'll say, probably not a ton. It's going to be a great experience. It's going to be learning. You're going to get some one-on-ones. And heck, you might get to prove yourself against some pretty good players.
Yes.
But in my experience, getting to a campus is so much more than the showcase. And I have a quick little story, because we have a kid in Oregon here who is a D1 guy. He's definitely D1 frame, and he was all-state both ways at the second highest level this last year, state champions. And his dad's a coach and for his high school, and they're going to a showcase. And this is an amazing move he did. So he looked up who's going from colleges and just sent a ping to the coaches, to the schools that, maybe some of he's heard from, maybe some not, just to see, if there's any interest in kind of saying, hey, I want to get my name in their ear before they see me in person. And so that led to Eastern Washington inviting him out. So he went there. And since he was in the area, he stopped by Wazoo, Washington State. And since he was in that area, he went by Idaho, who he had never talked to. And then Idaho, O-line coach, looked up his film and gave him his first offer. And
all right.
So the message is you just never know. And you got to hustle, and you've got to bark down doors, and you've got to be proactive. And I just see a lot of kids come from a scarcity mindset of, oh, when are they going to call me? When are they going to call me? This kind of stuff. So you got to be realistic. You got to be truthful with yourself. You got to take a good look in the mirror and the factors. You got to get a good read off the coaches and who you're hearing from. And the final message there is, if you're not a D1A guy, it's not the end of the world, and I say it all the time. I've said it a million times on my shows, but it'd be cool to hear it from you. right? At UTSA,
Yeah.
you go and you're a 4-year starter, All-American at 5'11" at center. I want to know about that. I mean, that is an
Yeah.
amazing career. Knowing you before as Nasty, Coach Nasty on Twitter and all your great,
Right.
and then looking you up, to get more information for this interview, that's when I learned that, and I just was so blown away. I didn't know that you had done that. So tell us a little bit about how you went and did that at 5'11".
Well, I appreciate that. I don't want to miss.
Forte?
Yeah, I will get back to. I don't want to miss the opportunity to give a couple pieces of advice, kind of to piggyback off of what you said in the camp deal. So, couple things: bark down as many doors as you can. But the one thing that nagged us as college coaches, we don't want to hear from your mom. We don't want to hear from your dad. We don't want to hear from your uncle. We don't want to hear from your promoter. Like, we don't want to hear from those people. So if you're barking down doors, make sure it's from you. Also, when you're barking down doors and it's from you, spell check your email, spell check your messages. And like, seriously, I mean, especially at Duke University, if you send a message that has improper grammar, wrong punctuation, weird greetings, that's not necessarily standing out in a good way. That's standing out in like, okay, this guy is definitely not for Duke University. He just made a fool of himself. So make sure you're going about it the right way. And then, I've had guys, at one point in time, at the height of my Twitter presence at a D1 university, I was getting like 250 messages a day. So it may be easier to sit there and say for a kid, well, I've got to grab his attention. Make sure you're grabbing attention the right way. Don't send like inappropriate messages or inappropriate emojis just to think that I'm going to hit your message, because the first thing I'll do is just delete your message and you'll never end up on a radar. So that's kind of the first deal, is like, make sure you're appropriate about, going about the way of knocking down doors, and it's coming from the appropriate people. So that's one thing that I want to piggyback off of. The other thing is, and it's a great story, is there's a young man who's in a rural area, and I'm not going to mention names. He's in a rural area. He's a prospect, but it's hard to get to. Like, the area is hard to get to. Okay. And you're like, well, I'm that kid, right? So this kid's listening to this. Let's say I'm that kid. I live in a farming town and no one comes through, but I'm a D1 Power 5 All-American. We saw this kid on Huddle, just going through Huddle. He had good information on his Huddle. His information was current and up to date, and we watched his tape. The kid blew us away. Had nothing, no offers, no nibbles, nothing, because you couldn't get to this kid's town. Well, we ended up finding a way to get there. We were one of his first offers, and now the kid's got offers from everywhere in the country. So don't be discouraged if you're late in the process because you're at a hard spot to find.
Yep.
At the end of the day, again, these coaches are banking on the fact that they're going to bring in performance. And so if you are that performer, no matter where you are, you're going to find the place that you need to be at, and you're going to get those offers that you feel like you deserve. And if you deserve them, you're going to get them. So those are two things I wanted to piggyback off of that some people may need to hear, right? Now, let's go back to my story.
I have one more question on that front, because this is something I think about, and this is the first time we've had, now a former college coach, but a college experienced coach on the show. Something I've noticed, and I'm not talking about anybody particularly who might think that, because it happens a lot, is the overbearing parent who's doing all the work. And then maybe you don't even notice, I think there's parents who even are running social media accounts, right?
Right. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Probably notice that. So then they come to campus, they come to, they meet you guys, you shake their hands. The parent talks the whole time. The kid says nothing. Weak handshake, quiet. Now, those two, the dad or the mom and the kid, they're sitting in front of you right now, and you finally have a chance to tell them what's on your heart, not being any specific kid, but all the times that's happened or anything like that. What would you say you got the kid and the dad? What do you tell the kid? What do you tell the dad?
Oh, I mean, I think that, it's one of those answers where a coach at a college is going to put up with as much as the young man performs. So, like, let's say that and that's just being real. Like, let's say that young man is all world, right? And let's say that dad is maybe the overbearing parent. We don't hear much from the kid, but we know that if the kid gets out on the field and can perform the way the kid is, been seen to perform, I feel like there's a little bit of leniency there. Now, we would want to hear from the kid and direct questions toward the kid and make sure that kid fits that mold and can survive at whatever institution that kid wants to go to and whatever institution that the coach is at. Now, if it's just an overbearing parent and the kid's on the bubble, right? Like, the kid's on the bubble, like, he may be a guy that we want, he may not be a guy that we want, but just kind of getting a feel for the young man is going to tip us one way or the other. We're going to want to hear from that young man. And if you're that overbearing parent that just keeps talking over the coach's questions, and we never hear from the young man, then how can we evaluate that young man's social skills? How can we evaluate that young man's interpretation skills? How can we evaluate that young man's football knowledge? So you get away with certain things based upon the performance of the young man when it comes to having overbearing parents. I feel like we're never going to turn a kid away that's an all-world player because his dad talks too much. That just doesn't make sense. But if you're kind of that bubble kid and your dad talks too much, then we may not be able to evaluate you enough. And then that kid may go out the door because the parents are overbearing. So what am I going to tell that young man? I'm going to direct questions toward that young man. And I want that young man to answer the questions. And at some point in time, if you keep getting, encroached upon by the parent, you've got to do it in a polite way, but you got to say, I want to hear it from the young man, and then that parent will get the message like, hey, I need to be quiet. I need to let the coach talk to my child and kind of get an evaluation that way. Another thing is, if you're going about the recruiting process and that young man's not in front of you and you're going about the recruiting process the right way, you're carrying on conversations with this young man through text or communication during those open periods. And so most of the time that parent's not going to be on the line while you're with the young man or texting for the young man. So you can get a feel that way. So there's many avenues to do that. My warning is for parents is just the process is stressful as it is, but it's not your choice. It's your son's choice of where he goes to school. So let that young man take an active role in his recruitment.
I love it. And when I deal with a kid and I get the feeling that, because I'm not going on recruiting visits with kids, but just talking to me, if I get the feeling that the dad's answering all the questions and the kid's being, he kind of just has it naturally reduces and say, I'll say to the kid, maybe in private even, I'll be like, listen, like if you let that happen when you go to colleges, then it'll just keep happening, because it's not that the parent doesn't know, it's that they don't think the kid is going to be able to say the right things. And sometimes they're probably right. So I always tell the kid, hey, shake that coach's hand firm, look them in the eye, have confidence, because they recruit a lot of kids. They talk to a lot of kids every day. And if you don't have that confidence, like really, what are you afraid of?
Right.
Like what is there to be afraid of? So the second thing I tell them is like, hey, have a conversation with your parent. Like sit down with them and say, like, Coach Linny told me that I need to talk more and be more, present and forward. And so I'm going to have to ask you to give me a chance. You know what I mean?
Right.
To have it. So I love it. But let's move forward. Great recruiting talk. That was awesome. Everybody's going to love that. So that's huge. But I do want to hear, because I was a under 6'2" center and got a cup of tea with the Bears and, pretty maxed out my ability at that height, and for you to be just under 6 foot and go be dominant. And by the way, I played at Oregon State and I didn't have a moment where I felt like I was super dominant, because Pac-12 D tackles. I mean, I'm going against there's a guy, Brian Price, who kicked my butt. There's a bunch of guys who kicked my butt. Anyways, I was all Pac-10 third team a couple times, but I always wondered, because I did see a lot of guys who had similar caliber as me who went to smaller schools. I went to 5 years in a row camp at Oregon State just to have them notice me and be my only offer. So really, I'm like a lucky story. In 2019, I'm not getting to D1. In 2019, with all this attention and money, I'm a D1 AA at the best.
Absolutely.
So at times when I talk to kids, I'm like, listen, you don't want to be D1, man. Like, you're going to go and you're not going to play until your junior year, and you're going to, go somewhere where you're wanted more than anything, where you're going to be seen as a leader and you can go and actually have some fun kicking butt. So I want to hear your experience at being under 6 foot and being a 4-year, 46 game starter, All-American. That's amazing.
So, well, I appreciate that. And I think it's interesting for people to hear how I was recruited to UTSA, and maybe this will inspire a young man to stick with it. So, you know, I didn't know that UTSA was starting a program. And all of a sudden at spring football practice, Larry Coker comes walking down to our spring football practice. And I said, well, I'll be damned. Y'all never believe who that is. And all the offensive linemen around me were like, nah, who is that guy? I was like, that's Larry Coker. That guy won a national championship at the University of Miami. They're like, all right, cool. And we had a couple of guys who were big time recruits. Zach Lee was our quarterback. He ended up signing with LSU and then signing with the Dodgers because he was first round pick, you know, $5 million contract. He left. We had a receiver who was big time who ended up signing with the Braves. So we had a lot of athletes out there on the field. So we had a reason for coaches to come down. You know, at one point in time, we had like Mac Brown and you know, Bob Stoops on opposite sidelines watching our quarterback and receiver. But I noticed Larry Coker and I said, well, he's probably not here to get into the fight with, you know, those guys for the quarterback and the receiver. This is maybe an opportunity for me to shine. And my head coach came up to me afterwards and said, you know, Larry Coker left you a questionnaire and he left you an invitation to camp. And I said, man, that's awesome. Like, I had really wanted that exposure at the time. And I said, you know what, I'm going to camp. So my dad and I drive down to San Antonio. It was the very first senior camp there for the Roadrunners in the Alamo Dome. And I'd say about 500 kids showed up, seniors in the state of Texas showed up to get that, you know, that exposure. Well, I hadn't prepaid or pre-registered. So I was waiting in line in the Alamo Dome for 3.5 hours just to get to the front. It got to the point where I almost called my dad and said, man, come pick me up. Let's go enjoy the city and let's go back to Dallas, right? But I didn't. I stuck with it. They had actually started the camp by the time I got up to the front of the line. And I ended up having to do my own warm-up, all that stuff, and jump right into the 40-yard dash and all that stuff. So I get there. Out of the 500 kids, there's probably 100 linemen, like 100 offensive linemen. And so there's one coach for 100 offensive linemen, and we're doing bag drills. The coach yells out to us, each bag is a job interview. If you touch the bag, I'm pretty much kicking you out of the drill. If you don't touch the bag, you'll go to the front of the line, and you'll stay at the front of the line until you touch the bag, then I'll kick you out of the drill. Because there were so many kids that if we kept everybody in the drill, then not everyone would get through the bag drills. So I had, you know, prided myself on being, you know, nimble-footed. You know, you got to be kind of nifty being undersized. So I go through the bags, don't touch a bag, get to the front of the line. All right, you're to the front of the line. Don't touch a bag or you're out. So I went through the whole thing and didn't touch a bag. I got pulled over the side after bag drills. No one-on-ones yet. They didn't really see my 40. They didn't see my pro. They didn't see my vertical. I didn't touch a bag, got pulled over by that coach and said, after camp, see me. We're going to meet Coach Larry Coker. And I said, wow, that's all that work in the backyard of doing bag drills over torn up dummies and trash cans and all that stuff that you see on Twitter from these guys these days. Like, I'm getting my work in wherever I can. That's how I was. And so it all paid off. So I go through the drill, the camp. I didn't win a one-on-one rep. My 40 sucked. My pro agility sucked. My vertical jump sucked, but I excelled at bag drills. So I ended up meeting Larry Coker, and Larry said, Nate, I want you to come up to San Antonio next weekend. Do you think you can do it? And I said, absolutely I can. He gave me a number to call. I left that camp with a good feeling and got back to Dallas and started calling that number that week. So this was the last week of my junior summer, right before senior year, and we were going to start senior-led workouts, and my recruitment was going to be done as far as my focus was going to be on my high school team. I wasn't going to be able to do anything after that next weekend. So I keep calling this number, no answer, all voicemail, calling this number. Monday goes by, Tuesday goes by, Wednesday goes by, Thursday goes by. I'm like, it's got to happen now or it's never going to happen. So I'm sitting on the toilet, all right, and because I know that if I call this number, I'm not going to get an answer. So it didn't matter where I called from. So I'm sitting on the toilet, right? put down the Sports Illustrated, picked up the phone and said, well, if they don't answer now, they're never going to answer. Make a call. Someone answers the phone. I'm on the toilet. Someone answers the phone. I'm like, hello? They're like, hello? I go, this is Nate Leonard. I'm trying to schedule my time to come down and visit the campus. Who is this? I said, this is Nate Leonard. I was given this number at camp. Coach Coker gave me this number. Coach Coker gave you this number? I said, yes, sir. You wanted me to come down to campus. Well, if he wants you to come down to campus, I guess you got to come down to campus. So I was like, yeah, tell me when I can be there. I'll be there. I said, well, I mean, I guess we'll be around the office on Saturday. You know, you can try to come up then. I was like, I'll be there. Boom, hang up. Tell my dad, we schedule it, we go. All right. So I'm driving around campus and my dad was like, well, did they tell you where to go? And I said, well, no, you know, there's got to be a football office. He's like, it's a startup program. So we keep driving around campus. There's a little trailer on the side of the campus, and on a banner on this trailer, it says temporary football coach's office. So I said, that's the place. Let's walk in. Walk in, secretary greets us, says, who are you? Who are you here to see? I said, well, my name's Nate Leonard. I'm here to see Coach Coker. And she said, well, you know, I don't think he was expecting anybody today, but, you know, let me go back and see. And here comes Coach Coker up to the front. Nate, so glad you made it down. I hand him my highlight tape because at that time it was 2009. I mean, that was, 10 years ago when we were still doing the DVD highlight tapes. And hand him my highlight tape. He said, you know, why don't you take a tour of campus with this coach and I will watch your highlight tape, come back and meet me afterwards, take a tour of the campus, come back. He said, Nate, your highlight tape broke 3 plays in. I said, damn, I came all this way. My highlight tape broke 3 plays in, yada, yada. He said, but I don't need to see anymore. We're offering you a full ride scholarship to UTSA. I was like, oh my God. So a phone call from the toilet turned into a full ride scholarship offer to a startup program. I was driving back home. I said, Coach, I appreciate it so much. I'm going to call my high school coaches, talk to them. I'll call you back later today. I was driving back home knowing I was going to commit. Called my high school coaches, which meant the world to me. They gave me the green light. Called Coach Coker back, committed that day. The rest is history. And at that time, like you mentioned, it was a D1 2A program. And I said, look, like this is my opportunity with no one else on the roster to get in, get started, make a name for myself, play in San Antonio at a program that's going to be eventual D1. That happened so much quicker than we thought. And then the rest is history. So how did I sneak away with getting all those accolades? It's because I took a shot on a program that was just starting up, made a call from the commode, and balled out at camp on bag drills with 100 other linemen watching me. So like my story is obviously different than a lot of other people's stories, but it just perseverance in the recruiting process. I only got one offer. So from start to finish, one offer. No one else came after me after I committed and ended up taking it. And then like my tweet said the other day, started out as a backup in the first camp, finished first camp as a starter, never gave up the position. Everything else is history. So that's how I got my foot in the door at UTSA. Maybe that will inspire someone. If you're watching, stick with it. You're going to get that one yes that you want, and then it's going to pay out for you in the long term.
Wow. Great story. Great story. That was awesome. Very well done. We are running out of time. I wanted to cover one more subject about, you know, just the football, the game as a whole. You got people who, you know, here in Oregon, the youth is just, it's dying down. You got teams that are conglomerating, and then you got freshmen playing with JV instead of having freshman teams. So, you know, we're getting to this place where we've got the truly committed ones to play. But the big question is the health, is the safety. I noticed the other day you had some guys on Twitter who were trying to, you know, hate on you for being, you know, your nasty self. And I didn't like seeing that, but hey, you know, haters gonna hate. But I kind of want to get your thoughts on, you know, how do we stay nasty but stay healthy?
Well, I think what you've got to do is you've got to respect the rules of the game. That's first and foremost. Those rules are in place for a reason. And what I tell people all the time is there's a difference between playing nasty and there's a difference between playing dirty. So playing nasty is playing with relentless effort and finish. That's what being nasty is. Can you do those things within the confines of the game and the rules? Absolutely, you can. What playing dirty is overstepping those boundaries, playing outside the confines of the rules in the game and making it unsafe. So there's a difference between nasty and dirty. That's first and foremost, people need to understand that, okay? What I promote is I promote relentless effort and relentless finish. If you ask any coach out there, do you want your kids to perform with relentless effort? I would hope that 100% of coaches say yes. If you want, if I go out there and ask, well, do you want your players to perform with relentless finish? I hope that 100% of coaches say yes. And I know that 100% of successful coaches say yes to both of those things. That's what playing nasty is. Can you play nasty and be safe? Absolutely, because you're playing within the rules of the game. So can you play hard? Can you play with relentless effort? Can you play with relentless finish within the confines of the game? That's what being nasty is all about. I promote being nasty. So what that means is just being relentless and being tough and being a finisher, being a fighter. But again, all within the confines and the rules of the game. There's a way to do it. And if you don't do it that way, you're playing dirty. And I do not promote dirty play.
Absolutely. And along those lines, I think the other piece of that is, for me, from what I'm seeing, is at the highest levels, I'm seeing less and less and less head contact on the line of scrimmage. Guys playing with their hands, good elbows in, great technique. You've got great coaches. The proliferation of technique with, you see all these guys training kids, technique's getting better and better and better. I think on the youth level, you have coaches who want to win, and they're like, oh, it's crap. We can't do 3-point stances anymore. They outlawed 3-point stances. And I'm like, hey, teach these kids to use their hands. Don't go only power offenses and only gap shooting defenses. Let's make them read. Let's make them step and strike. And right. I'm very bullish on the future of the game compared to what most people are, because I see it growing. I see it growing internationally. But for me, the technique is so important in safety. And I think it's majorly underappreciated. And it's not just how you do it, but it's knowing the situation, knowing the game. And when you do know, now you're going to finish more blocks, because player A is trying to push this guy as hard as he can because he thinks, I got to be nasty. And player B right. is saying, the ball's going wide. I know that I should have a wider aiming point, and this guy's going to want to go this way. I want him to go this way. I'm going to really lift here harder. And then you get him off balance, and you can land on his face and roll over his helmet and end up on Coach Nasty's Twitter feed. But right. But there's no shame in going balls to the wall as hard as you can, having fun with it. But you got to shake the fear, and you have to work on your technique, and you have to understand the game. And I appreciate guys like you out there helping to do that. And really going back to the high school level, you're not going to be working directly with the O-line. I'm sure you've already started researching some of the guys you've got. But that's huge, going back to contribute. And as a member of the Line Pro lineman community, I just want to say thank you, because this is an insane interview we got. I would love to get back on. We have the ability to do some film share. We could do
we need to.
So maybe in the future we could, once you guys get, you get your offense in and you guys win state, maybe we could do like a regular monthly or bi-weekly bit where we just break down some plays. But personally, my vision is to have Line Pro grow into less of a, the brand of this training or that training, but I want to become the middle ground where we partner with everybody who's training, and in a way where we give back to the community. So, I would just love for you to stay involved with Line Pro in any way that you can, and just keep an eye on us as we go. And as things develop, I think that you'd be an amazing contributor to our small community and helping us grow. So thank you for
I appreciate that. And I would love that. And I would also love to say this, what I feel like you're doing is you're an educational, service for a lot of people. And when it comes to technique, and when it comes to trainers, and when it comes to this business that we now know is football, which it is a business now. And if you don't think so, then you need to wake up a little bit, because it is, and you're going to get taken advantage of if you don't use it right. Everyone's out there for their own piece of the pie, right? So there's trainers out there that are teaching certain things, but at the end of the day, they're taking home your money, right? There's all these people out there that provide these services, but what people need to understand is education is going to make you such a more, fierce consumer and a very smart consumer. And what you're doing at Line Pro is you're educating people and not necessarily just asking for something from them, but giving more than you're asking. And what people need to understand is this is going to be the wave of where we go with this game, is educating people more so than taking things from people. And so what you're doing is excellent. That's why I wanted to be on here. I would love to do a bi-weekly thing when I do have film of my own offense and I can talk you through it and film, share, and all that stuff. But keep doing what y'all are doing, because the new wave is going to be education, and you're on the right track, and I love it.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you for being on, and
Absolutely.
I'm glad that we'll be seeing more of you, but get that offense going. Feel free to hit me up if you want to talk, X's and O's. I'm always happy to. Offline, of course. You never know.
Sure.
I can video record anything these days. But anyways, we'll talk to you next time here. And to all you linemen out there, get on it, guys. Keep working. Get on the toilet and make some phone calls. You never know.
That's how it worked for me.
If it worked for Coach, it might work for you. So appreciate you guys joining us, and we'll see you guys next time on Line Mentality.